How was the date?
Oh, 'twas great. Hey, look. Sadie gave me a love bite, look.
Get away from me, you feckin' lump of Egypt.
You know something?
Yeah.
Sadie says we should sell this kip. You know what? We'd make a killing in the property market. Then maybe, me and her could get like a small place together. And well, you could find yourself...
What the feck would a boner from the slaughterhouse know about the property market?
She's a meat technician from the abattoir, actually. I see the Scottish couple, the Rash's place is up for sale.
Yeah.
I wonder where they're going.
That doesn't matter. Jock Rash will always have a roof over his head.
How do you mean?
Well, he's in jail for life, Rodge. He chopped up his wife in a drunken rage and stuck the bits in a bus.
Jesus. Tell you what, she'll be missed. Everyone liked Fanny Rash.
The night of the slaughter, a nosy neighbour rang the guards after hearing a scream. The cops arrived 3 days later, as they do. Rash had plenty of time to clean up the gore. They found nothing. Fanny's gone back to Dunfermline in Scotland to, visit her mother. The guards seemed to buy his story, or so he thought, until Detective Spunk Murphy of the Limerick CID got involved. He called to the front door and started sniffing about.
Oh, so the wife's in Scotland. She must be caught up, being away from your good self. My colleague in Dunfermline was hoping to bump into her, but he hasn't had much luck.
Jock was sweating as the detective left. He knew he had to dig up the wife from under the floorboards and dump the body as far away as he could get it.
God, was the detective on to him?
Jock didn't know, but he couldn't take the risk. So the next morning he left to the train station with a suitcase full of wife. He would jump off at some no-name town and find a discreet place to bury the body. He got on the train and stowed his case in the luggage compartment. He sat down and began to read a newspaper and act as normal as possible. Hello, Jock, isn't it? He looked across the carriage, and it was the last person he wanted to see.
Mike Murphy from Winning Streak.
No, you scutter and gobsheen. It was Detective Spunk Murphy. Well, isn't this a coincidence, Mr. Rash? Us on the same train and all. I have someone under surveillance. Jock broke out in a sweat. Yeah, he's in the next carriage. He's a drug dealer, continued Murphy. For the first time in a week, Jock relaxed. It was just a coincidence that the detective was on the train. We've been after this lad for 3 years. And at the next stop, we're finally going to nab him, Murphy told Jock. The drugs are in the luggage compartment, and our crack team will get on board and go through everything with a fine-tooth comb. Jock went pale. I've got to go to the Jocks. He got up and headed straight for his suitcase. He had to get rid of it before the next stop. He took the name tag off his case that he had stupidly forgotten to remove earlier and stuck it to a similar suitcase. Then threw the wife out the door.
I suppose. What else could he do?
At the next stop, a bunch of armed guards got on board. A few minutes later, a message came over the tannoy. We're sorry for the inconvenience. Could passengers please come and claim their luggage? Jock was first there to claim the case that wasn't his.
So, this is your case?
Asked Detective Murphy as he looked at the name tag.
Do you mind if I have a little look inside?
Go ahead, said Jock with a smile on his face. A smile that instantly turned to horror as the jigsaw puzzle remains of a woman spilled out onto the platform.
Jeez, but hadn't you thrown the wife out the door?
Yep. Or at least he thought he had. Oh, he was so confused he broke down there and then. All right, I did it. I killed me wife. The police dragged him away as a smile crept across Detective Murphy's face.
'Cause he got his man.
Yep, but he'd also managed to get rid of Mrs. Murphy.
Huh?
Poor Jock had thrown his wife out the train door, but unbeknownst to him, the chopped up remains of the detective's wife were in an identical suitcase.
Jeez.
Murphy had the opportunity to use Jock as a scapegoat and rid himself of his pretty but unsatisfying wife.
Jesus, that's some double cross.
Yeah.
My God. Huh?
So, are you and Sadie going to move in together? Buy a fitted kitchen and have 2.4 dogs and an inside toilet?
Maybe we will.
Yeah. Well, I hope Granny will enjoy her new home.
But what? But your Granny be here with you.
No, not at all. Granny requires the care of two people. How's Sadie with incontinence pants?
Oh, right. Well, maybe not.
Oh.
Right, I'll just stay put.
Fancy woman.
Right, incontinence, yeah.
What's this now that's on, huh?
Oh! Oh, I like the look of this.
Huh? Cutting the grass and cutting people's heads.
Is this a comedy?
No, I know.
I noticed now.
You recognise the titles now. It's, of course, the finger severed.
Huh?
It's Murder's Most Sick.
Oh, great! Murder's Most Sick. 3 is on. Jesus, they always leave you guessing right till the end. I love this.
Yeah, let's. What episode? Oh, that. Yeah. That woman's a man. Look at the hands. He did it.
What?
Yeah.
No, you see, it couldn't be. You see, they do that sometimes just to throw you off. Look at that.
No, I saw it last week. It's a repeat, this one. The woman's a man. He did it. Okay? Huh?
Thanks.
Anyway, I'll tell you the most intriguing murder case that the telly will never show.
Huh?
There was a serial killer on the loose in Dublin. The capital city cops were dumbfounded.
Eh?
15 people had been brutally murdered. Their heads cut off and left in dustbins around the city. The only connection was they all had red hair.
Jesus. Huh?
People were absolutely terrified. Hairdressers were inundated with redheads, wanting to change their colour. The cops laid a trap to try and catch the Ginger Nut, as the press had nicknamed him. A red-headed undercover decoy roamed around the city, whilst under constant surveillance, in the hope of luring the killer into a trap.
Ooh.
But the trap didn't work, as another severed head was discovered.
Jesus, he'd gotten someone else, huh?
Not only that, but it wasn't a redhead. It was a blonde.
Strawberry blonde, maybe.
No.
He'd made a mistake.
No. It was a yellowy blonde. The Dublin cops were at a total loss. There was only one thing for it. Limerick CID and the legendary
Detective Spunk Murphy.
That's right.
That's
if
right.
anyone could solve the case, he could.
Yeah.
It was 3 weeks until the next decapitation. A punk's head was found in a pond in a park.
Feckin' punk rockers, throwing their heads around the place with their knitting needles up their nose and their Fred Kennedys, sniffing biros all day long.
Shut your hairy hole! It was definitely the work of the serial killer!
The killer's teasing with my nipples.
It said Spunk.
All we can do is hope for a few more deaths before we can figure out a pattern here.
Jesus. The man's a bloody genius.
It wasn't long till Murphy got his wish. A brunette's head was found in a dumpster, and 2 old ladies were chopped down after a night of bingo. Their heads found in a skip.
Number 11, off with their heads.
Yeah, interrupt me again, and I'll cut off your toes. The body count had reached 20. The cops needed a collar as public outrage was reaching riot status.
Jesus.
Murphy was under pressure, but always kept his cool. He stood in front of the caseboard and studied it. After 2 hours, whilst everyone else was panicking, he smiled and raised his trademark eyebrow. He gathered his team around the map of Dublin. I know where our man is going to hit next, he said as he stabbed a marker pin dramatically into the board. Nobody asked any questions, because when Detective Spunk Murphy had a hunch, it was time to act.
I didn't know he had a hunch.
I'll ignore that on grounds that you're a total arse. That evening, the cops staked out the Swampy Crack Bar at a crossroads in South Dublin. This time with an undercover ban Garda. And right enough, a suspicious-looking man approached the Garda and suggested going back to his place. As they walked down the darkened lane at the back of the pub, the man pulled a cleaver from under his coat.
Not so fast, Mr. Stephen Darcy,
shouted Murphy as he walked out from the shadows.
Stephen Darcy? I know that name.
Murphy had got the man using his incredible powers of deduction. It was quite obvious, really. The deaths of all 15 redheads took place in a triangular area, followed by the blonde, the green-haired punk, the brunette, the pink and blue rinse ladies in a definite straight line, leaving the murderer to pot the black.
Huh?
It was a classic snooker table formation.
Jesus.
The murderer was disgraced snooker champ Stephen Darcy.
Jesus, he was kicked off the tournament with a lifetime ban after fiddling with his balls.
Yep. And in his bitter, twisted and psychotic state of mind, had played a more macabre version of the game.
So come here. Where's Detective Spunk Murphy now, huh?
Well, apparently he's in town.
Oh, jeez, do you know something? Jesus, I'd love to meet him.
Do you know what? You probably will. Apparently he's investigating that case of missing ladies' bicycle saddles that's baffling the local guards.
If anyone calls, you ain't seen me, right?
Right you are, Dr. Richard Kimball. Yep. Oh, hello. Garda Bent. Yeah, it's me. Yeah, the usual. He's under the blanket there, yeah. Yeah, would you give him at least 3 weeks this time? Yeah, no, I've a couple of lady friends coming over here. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, if you could pick him up this evening, that'd be best. Yeah. All right, see you, so. Uh-huh. Absolutely fascinating. Incredible. It is absolutely fascinating.
Undercover Spunk. The Memoirs of Detective Spunk Murphy, Limerick CID.
Yeah.
Jesus, the greatest detective since Kojak.
Oh, it is a great read indeed. All his best cases revealed. The man who ate himself. The butler's rim mystery.
Oh,
remember?
Oh, come here. Does it have the case of who shot Marty Whelan's hair?
Oh, yes. But you'll enjoy this one. I hadn't heard it before.
What's that?
Jim Rim lived in the small town of Stool's Float near Thongs Floss, County Meath. Now, Jim was up in Dublin on a bit of business. And like everyone else, when they're up in the big smoke, they buy a bit of porno.
True, true.
He bought a couple of magazines.
Oh, was it Buxom Bouncy Castle Babes or Anal Aerobics? Huh?
Yeah, something like that. But what caught his eye was a video entitled Dirty, Dirty Couples. It was a brand new title, apparently the biggest seller in Asia and the US. It came highly recommended by the man from House of Wank.
Oh, sure, a recommendation from Tom is high praise indeed.
Yeah. Jim and his wife settled down to watch a bit of porno action. Ooh. The video was very racy indeed. Oh, lots of couples hard at it. They were about to attempt some of the positions themselves when Jim's wife said, "I recognise that arse." Huh? It was Jim's very own hairy hole.
Uh-oh, Jim had been caught out, huh?
No, as it was Jim's very own wife he was pummeling in their very own bedroom.
What? They hadn't been making their own pornos, had they?
No, they had not. And they were further stunned when they saw a number of their neighbours in various lusty positions.
Stunned, yet highly aroused.
Jim checked the bedroom for cameras, but found none. Then he searched the house for any signs of forced entry. Again, none. How the hell and who the hell filmed them in their own house? At his wit's end, Jim called an extraordinary residents' association meeting, where he played the tape in front of a lot of red-faced neighbours.
Red-faced yet highly aroused.
Shut it, you feckless rogue! No one had a clue how they had been filmed, as there were no signs of cameras or break-ins. They unanimously decided to call in the only man for the job.
Detective Spunk Murphy, Limerick CID.
Yep, the very man. After surveying the evidence, Murphy calmly arose and informed the room that he believed he knew who was responsible.
Already? But sure, how could he?
He told the residents to meet him in the local car park. Murphy examined each car individually.
Each car?
Yes, then he simply drove away.
Jesus, he's so feckin' cool. What the hell was he playing at?
Well, that's what Jim Rim and the other residents couldn't figure out. But they knew to leave the legendary detective to do his job. Spunk pulled into Stool's Float Garage, run by Cam Shaft. "Can you do me an oil change?" asked Murphy. Cam said that it'd be no problem at all, and could Murphy come back in half an hour? Murphy lied that he and his wife had just moved to Stool's Float, and since he was new in town, could he suggest a place to get a cup of coffee? Cam sent him over to the Friendly Bun.
Oh, God, you know, they do a great chicken tikka wrap over there, so they do. Oh, it's got all...
Shut your festering gob! Instead, he snuck around the back of the garage and caught Cam in the act.
Jesus, he wasn't dipping his Mickey in the lubes, then inflating his foreskin with the air pump, was he?
No, he was cutting a copy of Spunk's keys. You see, most people don't bat an eyelid about handing over a bunch of keys to their local mechanic for half an hour. And they certainly don't expect him to cut a copy of your house keys, set up some hidden cameras in your boudoir, film you at it,
Then sneak back the next day, de-rig the gear, then duplicate the video and ship copies off to porno palaces around the world.
The local garage man, huh? Jesus. Spunk Murphy's a feckin' genius.
No, he is that, that's for sure.
Yeah. I'm thinking maybe I should write my memoirs.
Your memoirs? Ha! So you could sum up your life in 3 lines. Born, menace to society, went to hell.
But I've done many things.
The things you've done in 3 words. Nothing, and feck all.
That's a bit harsh.
Harsh! Try being me for a day, with you holding me back, dragging me down into your misery. Die, will you? And let me breathe. You're suffocating me.
Maybe I'll write a colouring book instead.
Oh, Jesus.
Where's the crayons?
Up me hole.
Where's the paper?
Up me hole.
Where's Jamie Oliver?
Up me hole.
The Memoirs of Detective Spunk Murphy Limerick CID.
That's right.
Jesus, the greatest detective since Kojak.
Oh, it's a great read indeed. All his best cases.
Basted in a lovely buttery sauce.
Shag and sink! Bastard! Get the...
Hey, you know, Podge.
What?
Here's me, right, looking at the property page. And you know the way the robe is going on about the price of property, you know.
What?
Here's a house for only €22.
That's the page number, you gobshite. Anyway, you, fat boy. I found these under the sink. What the hell are they?
Me body paint.
What?
Me body paints.
Jesus, look, why don't you just get a deodorant? Painting over it isn't going to get rid of that smell of your rotten crotch.
Oh, ha, ha. I'll have you know that's something me and Sadie like to do in the privacy of our own boudoir.
Oh, I get it now. If you painted her grey all over, she'd look like a hippo.
Oh, ha, ha. I'll have you know that body painting is a legitimate art form.
What would you know about art? With your disproportionate head, your bandy legs, and your stubby fingers, huh? Listen and learn, Pablo Pipisshead. Boris von Schmelt was one of the world's most controversial young artists. 2 years ago, he shocked the Tate Modern with his skinned rabbit exhibition.
Jeez, I remember him. Is that the same fella who blew up the elephant?
The very one. So his latest exhibition of portraits of serial killers almost seemed tame by comparison. But, as per usual, there were no shortage of willing buyers for these latest pieces from the hottest artist around.
Arty-farty ponces, with their feckin' wine and cheese volo vents, with their look at me and me laddie-da, and their I know about paintings and stuff. They vex my hole.
Yeah, you're quite done, Melvin Bragg. The Mandelsons from Monte Carlo bought a painting of Fred Bungie, the Cincinnati slicer. They said it exuded an understated but overwhelming provocative chiaroscuro of good suppressed by evil.
Of course they feckin' said that. Monte Carlo, Monty Ponces.
Within an hour of the exhibition opening, all von Schmelt's 13 works were sold. And within a year, every buyer was dead.
What you talking about, Willis?
Each buyer was found murdered identically to the way that the serial killer depicted in the painting had killed their victims. The Mandelsons of Monte Carlo were found sliced into little pieces and sautéed in a light batter. The Mount Havens of Gloucester were found with live sharks up their arses. And millionaire tycoon Toby Nairobi choked to death on his own shoe.
Jesus. Was it a copycat killer?
That's what the police first thought, as some of the world's most vicious killers have fan clubs.
Oh, Jesus, that reminds me. I must renew my subscription to the Don't Hang Billy Mingus Society.
Who the feck is Billy Mingus?
I told you before. He was the fella who used to bump off the old ladies, steal their dentures, and then he used to play with himself while he licked them clean.
Oh, God, Roger. And they want to hang him for that.
Yeah, can you
will
believe
you
it?
feckin' clench your cheeks, right? As I don't want to hear another word out of you, you despicable monkey. Oh, good God. Billy Mink. Jesus! Anyway, where was I? Oh, yeah. The police had no suspects and no motives. And it couldn't have been a copycat killer, as often murders occurred on the same night, but in different parts of the world. That's when they called in the only man for the job.
Elton John?
Yeah.
Sure, what use would he be? Sure, he can only play the piano in a gay way.
Will you shut it, you scuttering gobsheen? They called Detective Spunk Murphy.
From Limerick CID.
Yes.
Right.
His first breakthrough was the dates.
Dates make me fart.
The dates of the individual murders, which he deduced occurred on the anniversary of the execution of each of the murderers depicted in the paintings. Then he went to visit von Schmelt at his studio. After interviewing von Schmelt, Spunk felt that the eccentric artist was holding something back. There was more to these paintings than meets the eye. Spunk's hunch led him on a trip to Monte Carlo, to the Mandelsons' estate, for the anniversary of the mysterious slayings. There hung the picture of the Cincinnati Slicer. There stood Spunk himself with Father Fondel, the voodoo priest. After an uneventful evening, they all went to bed. But at precisely 3:07 a.m., they were awoken from their slumber by a noise from downstairs. They met in front of the painting to find the subject missing.
Missing? What are you fecking on about, missing?
Out of the shadows stepped the Cincinnati Slicer himself.
Jesus, but he was dead!
Yes, he was dead! The living dead!
Oh.
Murphy's hunch was correct. With some voodoo words, Father Fondel coaxed the killer back into his painting. And von Schmelt was arrested.
But for what?
The eccentric artist had done a deal with a death row prison guard who supplied him with the ashes of the dead serial killers, and von Schmelt mixed the ashes with his paints in the hope that his subjects could become living art.
Jeez.
The pictures were part paint, part serial killer, and each year on the anniversary of their execution, the killers were brought to life once more. Under the supervision of Father Fondel, the paintings were burnt, putting the killers to rest once more. Even the supernatural were no match for Detective Spunk Murphy.
Limerick CID. Jesus. Life imitating art.
Yeah.
Imitating life.
Yeah.
Imitating art, huh? Imitating life. Imitating art.
Yeah, all right.
Imitating life. Imitating art. Imitating life. Imitating... Oh!
Huh?
Oh, Jesus. Jesus, something happened. I can't remember.
Oh, was it this, perhaps?
No!
Do you like that, huh? Huh? Who's your daddy, huh? Huh? Do you feel that one, huh? Electricity, the power of electricity. I give it to you.
Where have you hidden the feckin' keys, huh?
No.
Where are they? I know they're here somewhere.
No.
Come on.
You are not getting the car
Where are the keys?
No.
I feckin' know they're here somewhere.
Forget
they're
about
up here,
it.
aren't they? They're up here. Come on, where are they, huh?
You are not getting the car.
Jesus. Right, look, I only need it for a while, right?
You're not going dogging.
Wait a minute. You're a psychic bastard. How did you know I was going jogging, huh?
Well, the leash on your Mickey's a dead giveaway.
Oh, shite.
Besides, you need a dog to go dogging.
Yeah, well, I have one.
Oh, Sadie's going, huh?
Oh, ha, ha. I borrowed Farmer Queelan's bitch.
Oh, that mean bastard would never lend you his dog. Wait a second. Wasn't Queelan murdered only the other day?
Well, how else was I going to get a feckin' dog, huh?
Yeah, fair enough. Anyway, you're still not going dogging because you might end up dead.
Oh, Jesus, I was afraid you were going to say that. Jesus, I fear one of your feckin' tales coming on.
Randy Peak in Wales was a famous romantic spot with incredible views over the cliff of Llandiglig.
Welsh bastards.
Indeed. It had been very popular with couples going up there and making out, but had gotten quiet over the last 10 years. But now is enjoying a resurgence, what with the internet, dogging, and the new hedonistic society that was evolving. Bronwyn Shaftesworth and Griffin Longdong were office workmates turned illicit lovers. Shagging the arse off each other behind their spouses' backs. One evening after working late, Griffin suggested they drive up to Randy Peak. For the view, of course.
Yeah, her full moon in the full moon.
Yeah, shut up. Anyway, it wasn't long till they were hard at it. Fingers and tongues going everywhere. When all of a sudden the car jolted forward and rolled toward the cliff's edge. What? Bronwyn reached for the handbrake, but no matter how hard she tugged it, the car kept rolling.
Well, at least Griffin died happy anyway.
Oh my God! Over the cliff they went and met their deaths at the bottom of Randy Peak. The next morning the cops were on the scene. It looked like a tragic accident or even a lover's suicide. But when the same accident happened 3 more times, they could no longer rule out foul play. The only bit of evidence found were a set of handprints they dusted off the car boot.
Murder, she wrote.
Oh, there was no doubt of that. But when they ran the prints, there were no matches. The Welsh cops were puzzled, and not even Scotland Yard could come up with any answers. There was only one man for the job.
Detective Spunk Murphy, Limerick CID.
Your only man.
Yep.
You see, Murphy had been undercover breaking a dogging ring for a couple of years now.
Yeah, well, that's what he was telling the wife anyway, huh?
So he was highly qualified to take on the case. He decided to get straight down to the job with the help of WPC Swallows, whom he handpicked himself.
Dirty beggar.
They were staked out in a car on Randy Peak, hoping to catch the culprit red-handed. And like the others, the car received a jolt from behind and tumbled towards the cliff. But not before Murphy and his assistant were able to jump clear. But there was no one there.
No one. What in shite is going on there, huh?
When forensics came back with the results the next day, the same untraceable fingerprints were the only clue. Murphy had an idea. He spent the day in the local library studying old newspapers, and then he rushed back to the precinct and got the bewildered cops to dig out the prints book from 1952. The fingerprints on the car matched those of William Williams.
Right. So they went round and arrested the fella.
How could they?
What?
They hung him in 1952 for the double murder of his wife and her lover. He had pushed them over Randy Peak in a fit of jealousy over 50 years ago. The case would never be closed as long as cheating couples visited Randy Peak. But Murphy made history as the first cop to bring 4 charges of murder against a dead man.
That Spunk Murphy is a legend, huh?
True enough.
Yeah. Whatever happened to your one WPC Swallows, huh?
Oh, she's working hard and helping Spunk Murphy crack down on the new Mullingar roasting circle.
Oh, wait, come here, Waxy O'Toole was telling me there's a fella who's causing quite a stir on the Ballydung dogging circuit. He does a fruit insertion show in a black Austin 50. That's a coincidence. Sure, we've got an Austin 50.
Right, I'm off. Good night.
Hey, where are you going?
Business mine out knows yours keep.
Bastard. Jesus. Oh, nice fresh fruit there. I think so. Nice plum. You feckin' plums taste funny. Jesus, that banana smells of shite. Oh, God. Oh, well, waste not, want not.
Stick it up your hole. Gaylords.